Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and in today's video I'm going to be upcycling some of my old clothes. So last week I went through a pile of clothes that I was going to donate anyway and tried to look at it with fresh eyes and see if I could do something to some of the items to make them wearable again. And I found these three things: a t-shirt, a pair of white Levi jeans, and a dress. And I had some ideas for each one of them. So in today's video, I'm going to show you what I did to these three items to get just a little bit more wear out of each of them.
The first thing I worked on was this t-shirt, and I wanted to make some kind of spaghetti strap top. The first thing I did was measure out the amount of fabric I'd need by putting it on and pinning the sides to sit tightly around my waist. From there, I pinned the fabric down and cut around it, leaving 1.5 centimeters for seam allowance. I didn't measure the length yet because I wanted to try it on first and see where I wanted it to end. I did my best to put the graphic in the center of the top and used it to align the top edge. After cutting it out, I folded it in half to make sure everything was symmetrical and then proceeded to sew both of the side seams together. I just did that by pinning them right sides together and sewing with a straight stitch. I have to admit that I was a little bit lazy in the construction of this top, which of course compromised the fit a little bit. If I had spent a little more time maybe inserting some darts around the bust, it would probably have fit me a lot better. Anyway, I tried on the top and marked where I wanted the bottom hem to be with some pins, and then cut 1.5 centimeters below that for a seam allowance. I didn't have any yellow thread to match my top, so I decided to sew with a contrasting black zigzag stitch along both the bottom and top edge. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, but here is the progress so far anyway. Now all I need are the straps, which I'm going to make from the piece I cut off the bottom of the shirt. I measured the length I would need for each of them and cut a 2 centimeter wide strip, which I then sewed right sides together, leaving the two ends open. With a safety pin, I fed one end through the length of the strap and turned everything right sides out. I pinned the straps down after placing them where I wanted and sewed each one on by hand, making sure not to catch the fabric on the front of the top. Next up are my white Levi's jeans. I think I bought these at an Urban Outfitters many years ago when this length was popular, but the length is really unflattering on me, so I will cut them off to shorts instead.
Okay, so I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with the shorts, but I decided to paint on one of the back pockets. And I've seen a lot of pictures on Pinterest of pockets that have been painted with very famous paintings, so I thought that I would do the same. And I found these random fabric paints at my local craft store, and it says on the package that you can wash the jeans afterwards, so I hope that it works. And yeah, I'm just excited to get to paint a little bit. I haven't painted for so long, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I started by prepping my jeans. It said on the package to wash your garment first, so I did that, and then lined the pocket I wanted to paint on with some painter's tape. Now, I had been scouring Pinterest for ideas, and the one I kept coming back to was the famous painting, The Great Wave off Kanagawa, by the Japanese artist Hokusai. It's just such an iconic piece that I wanted to try and recreate it. It took some time to figure out how these paints worked, especially getting used to the amounts was difficult, as the fabric seemed to completely absorb the paint as soon as I put it on. So I ended up using quite a lot of paint for this pocket, I think. While painting these shorts, I had actually moved back home to my own apartment for a few days, and I basically spent 2 days sitting on the floor painting while watching RuPaul's Drag Race a second time. It was great, and I had so much fun playing around with paint again. One of the biggest challenges for me with this paint was that the white was not very opaque, so if I had to layer it on top of a dark blue color, I would have to paint like 3 layers for it not to show through. So yeah, there was lots of going back and forth with white paint, especially when it came to the outline of the actual wave. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe wherever you live. I'm very lucky not to have been too negatively affected by all this. I'm studying from home instead, which I don't really mind. The only thing is the uncertainty regarding my exams and what's going to happen there, but I'm sure it will all work out eventually. I brought a girl on my Vespa. She said I already told ya, yeah.
to brown yourself. Let me offer help. Come on inside, where everybody knows your name, everybody knows your name. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro, back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the alleyway. Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah.
I decided to change the sky a little bit compared to the reference photo, mostly because I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of color. I tried to make it a gradient, but it was actually really hard to mix the colors after they'd hit the fabric. The most time-consuming part, though, was the outlining. That took forever, mostly because I really tried mimicking every line from the reference. Even though I used a very thin brush, I did find it hard to make curved lines, and I suspect it was a mix of the paint and the denim fabric that made it difficult to work with.
Sunlight that always stays.
You've probably noticed if you watched my last few videos, but I've started to focus a lot on sewing and knitting and everything clothing related. I find it so interesting to work with and really gratifying when you finish a project because you can actually wear it and use it. I really hope to get to a point where I can construct finished garments and not have them look homemade, or at least not in a bad way. Some of my biggest inspirations right now are YouTubers like Bernadette Banner and Angela Clayton, who just make the most incredible historical costumes and garments. And of course, for more modern fashion, Wendy from With Wendy. After removing the tape, I added a few finishing touches. The last upcycle is this flowy summer dress. I really love the fabric on this dress, but I don't think the neckline or top half in general does me any favors. So I chopped off the top of the dress, leaving about 3 centimeters of fabric over the waistband. It was really difficult to cut into this fabric without it slipping, so I had to trim off the excess afterwards. The reason why I left so much fabric is because I want to have a small ruffle at the top. I hemmed the ruffle by folding the fabric over once and then hand sewing a running stitch all along the top, making sure not to pull tight because I want there to be enough stretch so I can get it over my hips. Luckily, this fabric wasn't that prone to fraying because I tried whip stitching along the top and it did not work at all. But I'm really happy with this upcycle and it was so simple to make. So here are all my finished pieces, and I'm really happy with how they all turned out. Upcycling old clothes is a great way to refresh your wardrobe and do it in a way that's not bad for the environment.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe even got a few ideas for your own upcycles. If you have any questions or ideas for future videos, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.